Welcome to the Avoiding Chores podcast. I'm your host, Jim Sear, and this is a podcast where we talk a little about outdoor recreation, gadgets, and stuff that I have been doing over the last few days to avoid chores. And let's start off with our usual Q&As. These are questions about a number of videos that you can find on my YouTube channel or on avoidingchores.com. Let's start off here. Tim was commenting on the Garmin Instinct navigation video that I did, where I kind of showed how you can navigate to a waypoint using this smartwatch. So he says here, I do not have navigate on the Instinct. I'm not doing something correctly. Once I press the GPS, I get a list of activities, walk, hike, cardio, but not see navigate. Please tell me what I'm doing wrong. Thanks in advance. And this seems to be a little bit of a change in firmware, because Tyler commented just a few hours ago, same thing's happening to Tim is happening to me. When I press GPS, I get a giant list of activities. Nowhere in this list, nor at the top or bottom is navigate is missing entirely. This is really interesting, because I would say this could have been a change in the firmware, where if you go look at the video, or the same thing with a lot of these new Garmin watches, when you press the GPS button, you have a whole bunch of activities that you can start recording, or activity recording. Now with the Garmin Instinct, once you get down past the normal run, walk, bike, swim activities, just like on the Vivo Active or maybe some of the Forerunners, you get down to some actual navigation aspects. So navigate, find me, save waypoint, that kind of stuff. Sounds like two people here over the last few months don't have that option, and I would guess that is a firmware issue that took it out. But as I indicated in my comment here, you can always, when you're doing your activity, press and hold the menu button, and you can access navigation from there. So it's not removed. It's just they had it in too many spots. And I think also if you press and hold down the power button, you also access some favorites or some quick links that way too. There was a question here about odor resistance. How about arch support? All right. So this was a comment here on my Keen sandals, CNX sandals a few years ago. I think they were the Clearwater. And this is always, I get a few questions about this once in a while. Haven't had any in a bit here. So question here was, Leslie was saying, how about, how is these Keen sandals for resistance, arch support? Love the Newport sandal because of the arch support. The CNX sandals from Keen, I believe they have a brand new series out. So they're not exactly like the ones that I have. The thing with the CNX, that was following the minimalist trend of a few years ago, where shoes or sneakers or the 5-finger shoes that people were doing, but these were kind of low profile sandals. I still have mine. They're actually very comfortable, and I do have a pair of Newport. I would say arch support is non-existent on that version that I was showcasing on the video, that because it was following the minimalist trend. However, it was very comfortable. Odor resistance, not a problem. That is the good thing with these Keen sandals, or at least I've been lucky. They've been very durable. They're able to not get it all stink, and they're quite durable when you throw them in a bucket to wash and to dry out. So now both of my Keen sandals are way over. I think one of them is getting close to 10 years in age. Of course, then again, only wear them a few times during the year out here, but still, they're a good investment when you find a good one there. Let's see here. Yet another question about the button missing on my Fitbit Alta. I'm telling you, folks, this question comes up every week, and people are not realizing that it's a 4-year-old video that on a piece of hardware that doesn't exist anymore, got replaced. Okay, so let's see. Jay was commenting on my Garmin GPS map 66. He was asking if there were any long-term updates on the 66. So this is the Garmin handheld. This is the big one. Nice big screen, big antenna, has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all the gadgets and doodads. I no longer have it because I believe it has, like I mentioned in the previous episode, was removed from the house by a third party. We had a few people in over the COVID, cleaners and oil tank people. And that's within the time frame where I couldn't find my 66 anymore. And I usually leave my stack of GPSs kind of around, so I think there was somebody took advantage of an opportunity here. So the long-term update is that the firmware up until end of February, the 66 was slowly becoming my handheld of choice, just because of the very big screen. The firmware had made the hardware a lot better, because one of my first complaints at the very beginning is that the firmware was very glitchy, very slow, but they really cleaned it up over the last year and a half, which is unfortunate. They took a year and a half to do it. I still had a problem with paying such a high price for the ST, and I feel really bad now because the fact that it's no longer with me, and I had a $100 SD card for maps. It's a pricey thing to lose. But I was really liking it. I was definitely using it all the time when I was taking out the fat bike for navigation, that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed using the 66. I've kind of transitioned to the eTrex 22X. That nobody stole that one. So I'm using that. Yeah, the smaller screen is getting to me, but as I did showcase in the previous video, the map product on the eTrex 22 is a lot better than what's on preloaded on the 66. So I would say if you would find it secondhand at a reduced price around the $300 area, go and get it. But right now, when I paid it was almost $800. It's a little too much. I think, depending on what you're doing, if you have work paying it for you, buy it. Be careful not to buy the inReach version. But if you're just doing general stuff, I mean, the eTrex 22X is still a superb unit here. Okay, this is on the TomTom Runner, and Gustavo was saying here, I can't download the Windows app on my computer. Now I can't reset it. Use the TomTom Spark 3 that I just bought. Any other links? This is the problem. TomTom exited the running watch market, at least in North America, I think 2 years ago. So all these TomToms that you see, there weren't bad watches, for very basic for what they were. They were actually, I kind of liked using it. The user interface was actually kind of good. The only problem, the software was kind of glitchy. If anybody who's had any experience with TomTom car GPSs trying to update those things, oof. But yeah, if you can't find the software, I would say you might have to dig very, very deep in the TomTom support site and pray that the last version of software that they built works on Windows. All right, Average Dude posted a comment on my video on collecting field data with my Garmin Instinct. So this is a video where I kind of illustrated that you could use the Instinct to record 3 simple aspects of field data when you're going out, which is a single point, a waypoint, a line, 2 points, right? Straight line between 2 points, and a polygon, right? Or an area. So I kind of quickly demonstrated how you can go through and capture those topics. Average Dude was saying here that I skipped through a lot of steps and I'm able to follow what you're doing at some point, and that's because the point of the video was to show how you can collect the field data, not to do the actual how-tos, which I covered in other videos in the same playlist. Let's see, this is a Forerunner 35. Mike was saying here, how do I open settings to start GPS? So basically a lot of them is the GPS starts when you start on the activity. So basically press the big start button, wait for the GPS satellites to get a fix on your location. A lot of the newer models will keep a 7-day table so that if you're in more or less in the same area, it will start up a lot quicker because it kind of anticipates which satellites are in the area. Before, back in the day, they would just randomly search to see which frequencies they would pick up from the 27-ish, 24-ish satellites, and then get a fix, and then figure things out that way. Now there's a little bit faster way of doing it. So that's why you notice sometimes If you're doing the same walk or run in the same area, it starts up really quick. But if you, for example, go to relatives or on a business trip and you start it up there out of the hotel, it takes forever to start up. Okay, so this one here was on an old Forerunner. This is a Forerunner 600 or 915. Fine. Apart from no info on the start screen, where do I start from? Oh no, this is from the. This is from the Map 62 Project a Waypoint, and this is usually you project a waypoint from your current location, so you don't actually need to start from. There is an option to project a waypoint from an existing waypoint. So, and I think I show in the video that you can either save a waypoint at your current location and then project from that, or from your current location. So projecting waypoints, not something I do a lot of these days. Let's see here. First was commenting on a Garmin Phoenix video, and which was like a good 5 years ago. And he says here, amazing how much has changed in 5 years since this. It's true. If you compare the first generation Phoenix, which I still have, to the new Phoenix 6, it is very, very different. Battersea 1984 was commenting on my Kodiak Canvas truck tent video. Where are you getting your electricity? And in that video, I was at Five Islands Provincial Park, which has no electricity. And that is the thing that I've kind of highlighted in a couple videos more recently, a couple weeks ago, where I went over my truck camping gadget bin. And one of the things that I carry is an extension cord and a little $20 space heater that you put underneath your desk, just a very small little thing. And when I prefer staying at provincial parks, at least out here, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, very nice sites. If I am lucky enough to get a site that has two services, which is power and water, which is the trend nowadays, they've been upgrading the sites. That is basically, that's how I get my electricity. Other than that, I don't depend on electricity. I have a couple battery banks to keep my cell phone charged up, Bluetooth speaker, that kind of stuff. I think I mentioned in a previous video or a podcast episode where I was looking at getting a better power station. So looking at a Goal Zero Yeti 200. I think that's the brand new thing that's out. There's also the Sherpa 100, which could be a little bit more easier, could fit more what we wanted to do. I'm still debating. Those two items are very hard to find in my area, and I can't necessarily buy them off Amazon because the whole battery shipping thing through countries and all that stuff. Anyway. Okay, so I got another Meandering Marley was commenting on my inReach Explorer video. Says here, thanks Jim, thanks for great tutorials, just what I was looking for. And those older inReach videos are still getting quite a bit of plays here, where I go over each aspect here. And let's see here. There was a Forerunner 310, going deep catalog here. Derek was mentioning here, thanks, I replaced the strap with the dual HRM. This was not mentioned in pairing in the manual. It's true. When you're pairing heart rate monitors and straps, it's not evident in the earlier models how to do it. A little bit easier now, but it's good. All right, World Wanderer commented on the Instinct Track Me video. And he says, thanks, Jim, for the 411 on Track Me option on this watch. I'm considering it for hiking feature. I think I noticed that the distance was being tracked during your demo, even though you're not moving. It looked like it advanced from 0 to like 10 meters. Am I correct? Is there a pause feature using the Track Me option? If you go under the general settings of your activity, if you're doing like a hike, for example, you should have the auto pause and auto lap and all those auto features available when you're doing it. Definitely when you're recording the track, When you're stopping, if you have the auto pause, it will stop the timer on top of stop recording. It doesn't necessarily stop recording, but it just stops at that point. The issue that he was noticing here in the video was that, well, one, I was inside, and two, that was the GPS drift, right? As we all know, GPSs, they transmit radio frequencies on the FM band, in the 2-3 gigahertz area, I think. And we're just receiving, it would be just like we're receiving a radio station on our GPSs. We just happen to be receiving 7-8 channels at the same time so that we can get our position. And just like anything else, when you have things buzzing above us at 20,000 miles an hour, there's a little bit of discrepancy. And that's where that GPS accuracy comes in, right? When you see that little field, plus minus 3 meters, 9 meters, 10 meters, that's called the drift, right? And the same thing with, you don't get 100% accuracy when you're in any GPS. Well, any consumer GPS, I should say. Military, government, the real ones, they're accurate plus minus, millimeters. For us, it's plus minus, 3 feet. So there's always going to be a little bit of a drift. When you're outside, especially when you're stopping, if you look at your track, you're always going to be roaming a little bit, depending on environment, tree coverage, that kind of stuff. Especially when you're in the house. It's good that you have a good antenna when you're able to get a signal from inside the house, but it's not essentially very accurate. All right, and let's see here, and that's about it. That's about it for Q&As, folks. If you have a question like me to answer on your Garmin, you can go to anchor.fm/avoiding chores, and there's a little leave message button, and leave a message, and if it's appropriate or I can answer it, I will feature it on the next podcast. All right, let's start with the new segment, or part 2 new segment, Stuff I Like. This is stuff that I've been ordering online, and I've been using it, and I've been loving it. This is, I'm going to talk about flashlights today, and I noticed, or I got an email from the folks at Olight, the olightstore.ca. You can find them in the States too. They're very popular last couple years. If you've been browsing the YouTube outdoor community, you've been seeing people pushing their flashlights, and shout out to the Smokin' Ape down in the States. He was showcasing a lot of Olight flashlights and kind of got me hooked on the company, and they had a flash sale on their Canadian site. Otherwise, I wouldn't necessarily be buying them, but I did buy one. It's called the Perun Mini, which is a very interesting little device. It's very close to the S1R Baton. It is a very small flashlight. It's 1,000 lumens maximum output. It's very impressive. It's about the size of your thumb. Right, if you were to dislocate your thumb from the socket there, the second knuckle, that's about the size that you're looking at. It comes with a clip, magnetic tip, has a rechargeable magnetic kind of battery charger. It's very interesting device. This one here comes with a Velcro patch that you can put, if you had a headband, you can put it on. If you had any tactical stuff, you can clip it on your Velcro if you have a backpack. So it's very, very useful. Plus the magnetic bottom, you can clip it on anything. I use the S1R Baton as a nightlight because I can attach it to the side of the truck or on the inside of the pole, metallic pole. So it's very good. Comes with a rechargeable, customized battery. Takes a little while to charge up, but it's very cool. Like I said, the maximum output, I think, is called Turbo, 1,000 lumens. That can be bright at 250 meters, which is quite far. The high settings is 250 lumens, which is around 98 meters distance. The medium is 65 lumens, which is pretty much around most running headlamps that you see. Low is 15 lumens, and which now you're getting up to like 25 hours of battery life. And then you got the moonbeam setting. Moonbeam is 2 lumens, and that can last for 4.5 days, and that's a very good setting. I use that quite a lot when I wake up at night inside the tent, or if we're family camping. It's just enough light for you to like not trip over anything. And it also has an SOS beacon that will project the SOS Morse code signal under low. That's good for a couple hours. IPX8, 52 grams. Very, very cool. I am more than happy with it. Been playing around with it. I like it. It's very familiar, like I said, to the S1R baton. But it's just that the light is not at the other tip of the flashlight. This one is at 90 degrees, so it's designed to be clipped on like a shirt or a backpack strap, belt clip, anything like that. So this is the stuff I like. You can go check it out. I think I have it on my Amazon store. You can check that out, or if you're interested in the S1R baton too, that one I like that a lot. And actually I use that, I bring that with me a lot on my business trips. If I'm doing a walk, let's say at night from the hotel, I'm on a trail and I want to have something to illuminate things, having something very, very small that clips easily to your belt, your pants, strap, whatever, and you have that ability to jet 1,000 lumens. I can tell you that 1,000 lumens is bright, and that's a good thing for many different types of situations. So, Olight Perun Mini. Avoiding chores. Well, actually, not avoiding chores. We are doing the last push this week to get the house ready to put on the market. And I think I mentioned this in a couple of previous episodes. We decided, our original plan was put the house on the market around May. And we were starting the process of the purging, doing the last bit of renovations, that kind of stuff. I don't know, past year. And then, of course, March came. Things kind of went in the toilet for a couple months. But in the last 2 months, specifically June, things have been picking up. The housing market here in Halifax is absolutely insane, especially on the lower end, basically for the first-time homeowners. Anybody looking for their first home, which is what we want to get out of. It is super hot at the moment. So we've been doing the last bit of purge. We've purged the house. We've extracted 10 cubic yards of junk, various junk, leftover lumber, metal, hardware left by the previous owners, a lot of stuff left from the previous owners. In fact, shingles, a whole bunch of doodads and knickknacks that we were left with when we came into the house, and then we just slowly been, shoving it in the basement and realized that, hey, we got to get rid of this stuff. So we spent the last, 4 months, basically the length of the lockdown, basically purging stuff, buying these junkery bags, hauling stuff that can go to the landfill, recycling, selling stuff, sold my kayak because I don't have room for it and don't want it lingering around here. Not using it anyway. Sold it for a good price. So we got, basically the house is pretty much show ready. We just got a handful of things that we need to do before we get the staging photos done and put the house up on the market here in the next little while. So that's going to be very interesting. We also did a lot of decisions, a lot of sign-offs on the new place. So that's going on right now. So that's very interesting. Of course, you read stories here about shortages in lumber. I guess in Atlantic Canada, a lot of people have been doing a lot of home projects during the lockdown. You can't find wood or lumber at your local Home Depot or Kent for certain things. Paint, a lot of stuff is going by. All the landscaping people are going crazy. I knew for us, part of our things was to buy a couple cubic yards of mulch to lay down here just to put a fresh layer on top of it. So a lot of people have been going pretty full pin in that industry. Anything related to construction industry, full pin. and I guess June has not been an exception, and things are going. So now you have that typical thing: supply chains can't keep up with the demand. Plywood got to be shipped from the West Coast instead of the usual East Coast mills. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But anyway, this is part of our stuff here right now, and once we get this done, haul off the last few boxes to the storage locker, we should be in pretty good shape. Camping is the go-to activity, the social distance activity of the summer, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that here in my neck of the woods in Atlantic Canada. As I mentioned in previous episodes, the camping is super popular because it is probably the only activity you can do that can maintain your social distancing as things relaxes here. So last week or this week, the provincial park system opened up at 100% their camping facilities. So before that, up to a couple weeks ago, they had basically only opened about half of the sites available for reservations. And this week, they pretty much opened everything up. They staggered that over 2 days. I was able to find myself a couple nights at 5 Islands. So we'll be hopefully now we have a couple outings that we can do later on this summer when it gets a little bit nicer, and enjoy ourselves here. And of course, it's the Atlantic Bubble, right? This is where this is our second weekend now of people traveling from Nova Scotia going into New Brunswick or else go into PEI. Nova Scotia has been kind of caught flat-footed. There have been a few stories about American tourists trying to get to Prince Edward Island, getting turned back, and then they opted for Nova Scotia because there was no really tracking of from regions that are not as open. So now this week they're establishing a few things, but on Friday there was this humongous backlog of people from Nova Scotia trying to get into New Brunswick, or people from New Brunswick trying to get back home. You had a 5-6 kilometer backlog on Friday afternoon, and then at some point around supper time they just waved everybody through. Just go. not much tracking here. I think they're going to have to come up with a better system than that. A lot of focus on staycations. As I mentioned here, a lot of the campgrounds are pretty full. They're not accepting any out-of-towners. What I mean by that, outside of the Atlantic Bubble, more or less, or I think for Nova Scotia they're not accepting any, but yeah, no, they changed it since. Sorry. And then Cape Breton Highlands National Park, they're fairly open, but they're going to be booking up pretty quick towards the end of the year. So if you have not done your camping reservations at this point, I would say that your options are very, 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 very limited right now. However, there are other opportunities you can do. A lot more hiking, a lot more biking is available across the province. There are a number of trails that are in pretty good shape, got a little bit of money to fix up. There's a few outings that you can do. So there are a few spots you can go. One spot in particular was in Kentville, Nova Scotia. That's up in the Annapolis Valley. You can do a couple things if you have a bike, depending on the type of bike you have. You can either take part of the 120 kilometer Rails to Trail Harvest Moon that you can start off from Kentville. And you can either head towards Grand Prairie, Wolfville, or you can go the other way. That's one area that you can do. Or you can do the Ravine, which is kind of a hiking, biking kind of area. There's also a mountain bike trails. I forget the name of it there, but it's very well indicated at the town where it is. I forget what it's called. You can do that too. And of course you can do the Blue Route, which is if you have your road bike and you can do a lot of kilometers, you can drive or ride on the secondary roads here in Nova Scotia and get pretty far across the province. So those are your options for biking. We covered kind of camping right now. Boating, Of course, a lot of boats from the yacht clubs here, or the boat clubs here in the area, especially in the Bedford Basin, got put to water over the last week or so. Boating is definitely an option. Yesterday was perfect weather to do some boating or kayaking or put a canoe. And the trend lately around here has been for people to get into these water sports. And we have many areas. And I mentioned a couple episodes ago about the sports fishing free weekend that they had, basically, that, you didn't need a license to go and try sports fishing. When you go to their website, you see all these launch points that you can actually go and really filter that down by if you're at your mobility restricted, whether or not you can access, the launch with a wheelchair or not, but you still have a lot of these public waterway access points. And plus you have all the lakes. There's hundreds of lakes that you can paddle in. So there's no shortage of paddle experiences, provided that obviously you got to wear the right equipment. But a lot of people here I've been noticing a lot of Pelican kayak on top of people's cars and trucks. Pelican, they've been diversifying the last couple years, right? They've been doing the Yeti cooler knockoffs. They've been doing kayaks now. They have both the sit on top, sit in, and fishing kayaks. And I see a lot of people with them. A lot of people. The main spot here that we can get that is at Canadian Tire. But if I've seen them in Quebec and Ontario also, more of the fishing thing. You think our proximity to Maine, we would see a big old town canoe contingent here. I gotta say, Old Town Canoe out here in Nova Scotia is very, very rare. You might see it more if you're in New Brunswick, St. John, Fredericton, up in Madawaska there. It's a little bit closer. There was a 1 point that you can get, but they are fairly expensive products. The benefit with the kayak or the Pelican kayak is that they are really cost effective and nice designs and fairly light. One of the reasons why I sold my kayak here last week, one of the main reasons I wasn't using it a lot, part of that reason was the thing was heavy. It was 72 pounds. Yes, it was an Ocean Kayak Malibu 2, which is a tandem kayak. Well, you could put two people on it, sit on top of kayak, but the thing was 72 pounds. You look at the Pelican stuff, which is down in the 50-pound area. Big difference when you're putting it on a carrier or trying to haul it around or lifting it on top of your car. Very big difference. So definitely check that out if you're in the market. I've been hearing very good things about it, and for the cost, it's a good entry point for doing that kind of stuff. And that's it for another episode of the Avoiding Chores podcast. Hopefully you've found it a bit entertaining. While you're listening, I'm probably going to be doing a few more things around the house to get this show ready. I got to move some boxes to the storage, and I got to move a couple bins of paint and chemicals somewhere to a recycling depot or find out if they're open or not. You can check things out on avoidingchores.com if you want to leave a little message, that if you want to get featured on the podcast. You can go to anchor.fm/avoidingchores, and we'll talk to you guys next time.